Borrering, 1682. Borre Ring, 1877 and 1992. Borgering, also known as Vallø Borgring, a Vallø Ring fortress. Also Borgringen ved Lellinge, Lellinge Ringborg, Borgring, Borgerring, Borring and other names, is a Danish Viking fortification located on Zealand, east of Gammel, GL, Lellingegaard in the parish of Højelse and northeast of Lellinge. The ring sits on land under the Chapter of Vallø. The land in GL, Lellingegaard has been a part of the estate of Vallo, later Chapter of Vallø, since 1721. Description: Borgering is circular in shape and spans 145 meters across and thus ranks third among the original Danish Viking ring fortresses. It featured a 10 to 11 meter wide rampart and was shielded by a palisade made by pointed wood and stakes. No fortification moat has been uncovered, but the Ellebeeken stream running due west of the fortification might have offered a natural defense, as might a small lake to the northeast. During the excavation in 2014, the northern and eastern gates were found exactly where they would be expected to be in a Trelleborg-type fortification. Borgering could join the group of Trelleborgs which include Trelleborg at Slagelse, Nonnebakken at Odense, Firkat at Hobro and Aggersborg next to the Limfjord. These fortifications have all been dated to ca. 980 AD. However, conclusive dating of Borgering remains to be done. During the Viking Age, the fortress would have enjoyed a strategic geographical advantage overlooking the intersection of the old high roads from Roskilde and Ringsted, extending as far as the two streams in Kojadal, which at this time was a ship-ready fjord and one of the best natural ports on Zealand, offering easy access to the Bay of Koj. Name: Borgering is the name of the fortress as well as the area. The written sources for this dates back to 1682. The name has been subject to some modification through the ages, leading to a plethora of variations in different contexts. The name may also have been used either to denote the Viking Age fortification itself or the bank immediately east of GL, Lellingegaard. As for Borgring, it should be noted that the place name with great certitude has moved geographically. Maps from the late 1800s will reveal Borgringen to be the name of a small forest some 300 meters west of the ring fortress. In 1682, the name Borgering is also synonymous with Borre Ring and Borre Ring. An undated land register, pre-1850, supplies the name Borgering's mark, and a guide from 1860 offers Borgering's marken. Military and topographical maps through the ages contain versions such as Borring, 1897, and Borgring, 1911, 1941 and 1983, and Forest map from 1925 uses Borgringen. In 1875, the variant Borgerring was used. In 1877, Anders Petersen uses the form Borrering in his book Vallo Megn. The third and fourth editions of Trapp Danmark, Statistisk Topografisk Beskrivelse af Kongeriget Danmark, from 1898 and 1921, respectively, use the name Borgering. The version Borring appears in an old legend, and is used a few times between 1911 and 1946. All Danish fortifications used to be registered by the Danish National Museum's Department of Middle Ages even when finds, such as Borgering, were not from that age. The museum registered the ring fortress as Borgering, and when Harold Andersen submitted an article to the magazine Skark in 1992 in which he dragged the pre-medieval fortifications out of the darkness, Borgering was consequently referred to in this version. Borgering, Højelse parish, circular embankment, grave about 140 meters across, today used for farming, find dating from early Roman times. two major fortresses on Bornholm, both from late Iron Age, are clearly refuges, while it is less clear if this is also the case with the two remaining fortresses of this magnitude, viz., a circular fortress located just outside Coge, pottery dated to Roman times, and Borrering, Højelse, Kredsfrindvold, Grav, ca 140 meters i diam. New Heltnedploget. Fund fra ældre romitid. Quote. In Danish. To Storborg par Bornholm. Beg data til Inga Journalder. Utvul som tilflugtuster. Mens det mere user kurt. Det samgælder de to andre anlæg. Som end nu tilbage i den størrelsesklasse. Nemlig en Kredsfrindborg beliggende tar uden for Coge. Skar data til romitid. Og. Quote. In Danish. The name Borgering has therefore been used several times since 1992. E.g. in 2009, 2010 and 2011. The primary name of Borgering has been recorded by the Department of Nordic Research, Nordisk Forskningsinstitut, at University of Copenhagen, although the department only records instances found on maps and in land registers while ignoring literature in other institutes. Therefore, the versions of the name used by Sophus Müller, Trap Denmark, during the excavations led by Thorkild Ramskov in 1971-72, in the National Museum Registry and Harold Anderson are not mentioned. The department has not registered usage of the recent past. This means that the recordings of the Department of Nordic Research is for now is of limited usability as a source to naming convention and usage concerning Borrering over the years, including the recent years. Lately, other versions have appeared almost supplanting the original name. Especially in 2013-2014 there has been a trend towards new names for the fortress. Borgringen ved Lellinge has been used a few times in 2013-2014. And the shorter version Borgring on several occasions. The Chapter of Vallø stirred waters when, during publication of the preliminary excavation results in September 2014, they wanted to rename the fortress Vallø Borgring. In response to this and following vocal opposition, a Facebook group was created on 8 September 2014 to promote the name Lellinge Ringborg. This version has been used by the Viking Ship Museum in Roskilde. Borre, as a name, a word has several denotations in Danish. But for this discussion it seems most relevant to consider fortified site, or just fortress. So, in terms of naming, Borgering becomes part of a group of prehistoric fortifications that include Borremo's fortified settlement in Himmerland, Bornold on Falster and Borrehoved on Bornholm. Legends. It is said about the largest church bell in Højelse that, upon its inaugural knell, the ancient castle of Borring by Lellinge stream sank deep into the earth. Research history. The place Borre Ring is first mentioned in a 1682 land register as part of Christian V's cadastral map. The fortress is reportedly outlined on an 1805 land map of Lellingegaard. The fortress was first codified by Sophus Müller in 1875. Right to the east of the farm, GL. Lellingegaard, lies a bank called Borgerring, and by virtue of its location next to the stream, although no certain date has been offered, the US Air Force aerial photo, orthophoto, from Basic Cover 1954 and provided by COWI shows the fortress as a somewhat blurry shadow on the field. It was only after echo photography in November 1970 that it became clear that there might be an actual Trelleborg near Lellinge. The circular structure was recognized on a photography by Warrant Officer Valdemar Ryhl from Air Base Karup. In 1971-72, the Danish National Museum, represented by Thorkild Ramskov, conducted excavations on the site, but the research technology available at the time left the embankment itself undated. Evidences of settlement and moedding were dated to the Roman Iron Age. No evidence of later settlements was found at the excavation site. Prior to work, there was a general expectation that the excavation would reveal and document that the fortress ring was from the Viking Age and similar to the other known Viking ring fortresses. This expectation, however, was not satisfied. Some 40 years later, Professor Søren Sindbak of University of Aarhus were working on a major book on Aggersborg, when he recognized a clear pattern to the location of the other fortresses. It soon became clear that there was a fortress missing in eastern Zealand. The Trelleborgs are placed a day's march apart, i.e., about 30 to 40 kilometers. This distance was also apparent between the nearest fortress Trelleborg at Slagels and the now already known Borrering at Lellinge, which could not previously be counted as a Viking Trelleborg. In 2014, further archaeological research by Danish Castle Centre and University of Aarhus, and with some important help from Helen Goodchild from University of York, showed that Borgering dates back to the 10th century. Remnants of burnt gates were also found, possibly suggesting war activity of the kind found in Trelleborg at Slagels, where 19 arrows were found inside the fortress. Up until 2014, the fortress has only been mentioned a few times in literature, leaving one of the largest circular fortresses in Denmark in relative obscurity. As yet, only minor sections of the fortress have been unearthed. Despite the geometric plan, in line with other Trelleborgs, the gates of Borgering are not perfectly aligned north, east, south and west. The minor dislocation, 11 degrees, probably reflects concerns that the fortress would emerge asymmetrical in the landscape if the prevailing building principles were rigorously obeyed. Excavations will continue in 2015. Builder Harald Bluetooth is presumed to be the master builder of the other Danish Trelleborg-type fortresses, and it seems plausible that he may indeed have built the ring fortress at Lellinge. 2. The fortress remains to be conclusively dated, however, rendering Harald Bluetooth's involvement likely but not proven. See also Aggersborg, Borgeby Castle, Fierkat, Harald Bluetooth, Nonnebakken, Trelleborg, Slagels, Viking Ring Fortress, Vikings. Footnotes. Press release from Danish Castle Centre. In Danish, newly discovered Viking fortress could have been a launch point for invading England. By Rachel Newer, Smithsonian.com. 9 September 2014. Vikingeborg Fundet vid Koj, Sjællandske Media. 5 September 2014. In Danish, Vikingeborg kan under datering af Koj Katrine Wade. Dagbladet. Sjællandske Media. 5 September 2014. p. 16-17. In Danish, Archaeologer. Flere Vikingeborg vil dukke op. Videnskab. DK. 9 September 2014. In Danish, Borgring. The Discovery of a Viking Age Ring Fortress. By Helen Goodchild, Nana Home and Søren M. Sindbak. Antiquity. Volume 91. Issue 358. August 2017. pp. 1027-1042.